So prayerfully everything will work out. But let's go ahead and try and get started. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of mine heart be acceptable in Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our redeemer, and it is in his name, which is his authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect. Today's message, Aman. Olá, meu nome é Kofi, como está? Bonjour, chamo Kofi, ça va? Ni hao, namaste. Osayana Kituya, Ohio. I see you. Manut, Bagwan, Kamsa, Kamsamida. Aloha. Ciao. Ensemble. Um, Habarigani, Aquaba, Madase, Etese, Jambu, Mimini Kofi de Franco Katana de Wewe, Bokurto, Bokurta, Grand Rising, Bakwata, Barakala Chamihava, Night Kwalai, Kohela to servant to Christ, Mashalamchi. Hello, everybody. I am Pastor Kofi, Pastor of Servant to Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being a voice of the voices and speaking the unspoken. Um, as I said, I do apologize. I was saying earlier, I apologize for today. Had some issues and things like that happen with the vehicle, and it's a must. Like, kind of had to get it taken care of, like 100% right away. Dealing with some things going on, so just keep us in prayer. Everything should be fine, and we're able to make it over here in time. But everything had to kind of be shifted. So, our early rise of Bible study session that wasn't today will be moved to tomorrow. And I will be on tomorrow for a live session to make up for the 4 days of last week. So just giving you guys a heads up, and my apologies for that. They should be announced, so you should see them on Google Calendar invite. I tried to put out on Facebook as well that we were in the Facebook group that we were going to be running about 30 minutes late. So I would have actually been on at about 8:25 or so. The appointment was supposed to be at 8:20, but nobody came and talked to me until about 8:32 or so. I was about to go on and just say, forget it, but it is what it is. But thank you all for your patience. Thanks for being on. We're going to go to Genesis 26, I believe, is where we left off. There's been quite a bit of stuff going on, and we'll say shalom to everybody. I'm on. Okay, Genesis 26 is where we're going. Praise Yah. Thank you for your patience once again. And we'll get ready to say our Bible pledge in just a little bit. Let's say shalom to everybody real quick. How you doing, Sister Beck, TJ, Sister Knight, Brother Rodney, Annette, username 2319. Is it Jide? Not sure. I know Big Brother Thomas is on. Emmanuel, T. Carter, Rufus Moon, user 309-252-2500, etc. Black Hawk, Double OG, Triple OG, First Scooter, Dutch, Glenda, Chef Stevie, Sister Deborah. By the way, Sister Deborah, I apologize. Elder Alma told me that you texted to check on us and everything. Everything is indeed fine. You just had some stuff I had to take care of. And I was going to try and take care of it while riding over here, and it just didn't make sense. So to be safe, we just got over here. How you doing, Marcus? Full of faith. How you doing, one kid? $3,000. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. Brother Frank, Timothy Lee, United Boy, Sister Greta in Florida, right? I don't know why I keep trying to put you in Texas, right? In Florida. Hopefully I have some stuff for you soon. And thank you for your support, everybody. How you doing? Is it G Mills, Antoinette, or Antoinette? Not sure you pronounce it. David Richardson, June Y, John McSwain, Showtime. Everybody, appreciate you. And we appreciate everybody for being on once again. We're getting closer and closer. Not this weekend, right? But next weekend, it's going to be more Memorial Day weekend. So prayerfully, we'll see quite a few of you. And then the weekend after that, we plan on seeing a bunch more of you for Pentecost. So we're excited about what Yahweh is doing. And we're grateful. Once again, if you can keep us in prayer, just trying to have some emergency stuff happen with the vehicle that we need to make sure that we get done. And so that's why so much shift in schedule last minute this rising. But thank you all. How you doing, Pastor Houston? And everybody, Lottie Dyer and everybody. All righty. So, and once again, if there's any changes, if there's any problems, if there's any questions the persons have, for the most part, you guys should be able to go through the chain. So, feel free to contact ministerial staff or contact Sister Renee. I try my best if I can outside of that to have certain persons who usually you guys contact and connect with, but you'll usually find it there, find a Google Calendar invite, find information on, even on the Facebook group, different places that we have stuff, sometimes even in our YouTube channel and where we make our YouTube posts, you'll even see some stuff as well. So you should be able to find places. I wasn't able to put it on WhatsApp, so I do apologize for that. But we did try to put the information out there, so you can always check in with somebody, and they should be, and those in the inner circle should always be able to give you information as things are moving forward. But let's go ahead and get into this word, because once again, I don't know how long. Prayerfully, it should be prayerfully like a quick fix. So I'm not sure how long we'll be here at the dealership. So let's just jump right in. I apologize for my low voice today once again, but I was trying to find. Oh, see now. Hold on, we might have a better place. I was trying to find a place where I can be a little bit louder, and somebody was in there earlier, but it looks like I might have a place. So just hold on one second. We might be able to, at least I won't be having to be this low. Hold on one second. All right, never mind. I just couldn't see the person. They're still in there. All right, but prayerfully, this is loud enough. I'm gonna try to project without projecting. That means my voice will be extremely low. Though I won't go deep, but my voice will end up just staying about this volume and about this frequency. So prayerfully, that won't be too much of a problem for us to hear. But once again, we're going to go to Genesis 26, and we'll read it in its entirety. So we're going to go to Genesis 26, and we're going to read Genesis 26 in its entirety. Praise Yah. Once you have it, say amen. Say I got it. Say I'm listening. Say I'm with you. How you doing, Pearl? How you doing, Sister Jennifer? All right, we're going once again to Barashayat, Kaf, Vav, At Alav, or Genesis chapter 26 and verse 1. Once you have it, say amen. Say I got it. Say I'm listening. Say I'm with you. Excuse me. Say I'm with you. And we'll read it in its entirety. So we got a lot of reading. All right, got some amens. Once again, that's Genesis from God. It's Khan. How you doing, Sister Michelle? All righty, Genesis chapter 26. How you doing, Joy Boy? We're going to start at verse 1. We're going to read the whole thing in its entirety. Amen. All righty. Once again, Genesis chapter 26, verse 1. Everybody got it? Or as many of you have it, listening, etc. Hopefully you're being safe on the roads and all that stuff. I know where I am, it's raining a lot. So be safe out there. You know, it's interesting too. Like I've been riding the RV and stuff for so long. Like the last couple of times, trying to just ride in a regular car, it feels like a toy. I have to be extremely careful. Amen. Anyways, I don't know. Let's go back. I'm sorry. Sometimes pastor's a cornball. All right, Genesis 26. Genesis 26, starting at verse 1. We're going to read it in its entirety. I'm sorry. Let's say our Bible pledge first. This is my Bible. This is my sword. And this will I trust. For Yahashua is Lord. No sword of God shall ever be heard. For this is my Bible. And this is Yah's word. Hashem Yahweh. Aman. Which is Yahweh Shem. His name is authority. Amen. All righty. Let's get into it. As I said, I'm not sure how long I'm going to have before I got to move the vehicle. So let's get it in. It reads as follows. It says, and there was a famine. So Genesis 26, verse 1. And there was a famine in the land beside the first famine that was in the days of Abraham and Isaac. And Isaac went unto Abimelech, king of the Philistines, unto Gerar. And Yahweh appeared unto him and said, go not down into Kemet, dwell in the land which I shall tell thee of. Sojourn in this land, and I will be with thee, and will bless thee. For unto thee and unto thy seed I will give these countries, and I will perform the oath which I swear unto Abraham thy father. And I will make thy seed to multiply as the stars of heaven, and will give unto thy seed all these countries, and in thy seed shall all the nations of Aratz be Barak. Because that Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws. I'm just going to repeat that and we'll keep going, but I just want to say that again. Verse 5. Why is it that Yah says that I'm going to bless you as Abraham's seed and give you the same thing? And what is it that you need to do as well? I'm going to do this because Abraham, according to Genesis 26, verse 5, Abraham obeyed my voice kept my charge, right? My commandments, my statutes, and my laws. That's 6 things. All right. Verse 6. And Isaac dwelt in Gerar. So he did what Yah said. Verse 7. And the men of the place asked him of his wife, and he said, She is my sister. Sound familiar? For he feared to say, She is my wife, lest, said he, the men of the place should kill me for Rebekah, because she was fair to look upon. And it came to pass, when he had been there a long time, that Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked out at a window and saw, and behold, Isaac was sporting with Rebekah his wife. And Abimelech called Isaac and said, Behold, of a surety she is thy wife. And how saidst thou, She is my sister? And Isaac said unto him, Because I said, lest I die for her. You see how we're having the same issue, same problem, all that stuff, right? So verse 10, and Abimelech said, What is thou that hast done unto us? One of the people might lightly have lain with thy wife, and thou shouldest have brought guiltiness upon us. If you're joining us, we're in Genesis chapter 26. We're starting at verse 11 now. Right? And Abimelech charged all his people, saying, He that toucheth this man or his wife shall surely be put to death. Then Isaac sowed in that land and received in the same year 100-fold. And Jehovah blessed them. Jehovah barak him. And the man waxed great and went forward and great until he became very great. For he had possession of flocks and possession of herds and great store of servants. And the Philistines envied him for all the wells which his father's servants had digged in the days of Abraham, Abba, all right, or Abba, Isaac. The Philistines had stopped them and filled them with earth. And Abimelech said unto Isaac, Go from us, for thou art much mightier than we. And Isaac departed thence and pitched his tent in the valley of Gerar and dwelt there. Verse 18, and Isaac digged again the wells of water, and they had digged in the day, that which they had digged in the days of Abraham his father. For the Philistines had stopped them after the death of Abraham, and he called their names after the names by which his father had called them. And Isaac's servants digged in the valley and found there a well of springing water. And the herdmen of Gerar did strive with Isaac's herdmen, saying, The water is ours. And he called the name of the well Esek, because they strove with him. And they digged another well and strove for that also. He called the name of it Sitnah. Right, we'll go by the modern pronunciations. We're in verse 22, Genesis 26, verse 22. And he removed from thence and digged another well. And for that they strove not. And he called the name of it Rehoboth. And he said, For now Jehovah made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land. He went up from thence to Beersheba, and Jehovah appeared unto him the same night and said, I Elohim at Abraham Abba, right? I am Elohim of your father Abraham. Fear not, for I am with thee, and will bless thee, and multiply thy seed for my servant Abraham's sake. And he builded an altar there, and called upon the name of Jehovah, and pitched his tent there, and there Isaac's servants digged a well. Then Abimelech went to him from Gerar, and Ahuzat, one of his friends, and Phicol, the chief captain of his army. And Isaac said unto them, Wherefore come ye to me, seeing ye hate me, and have sent me away from you? And they said, We saw certainly that Jehovah was with thee. And we said, Let there now be an oath betwixt us, even betwixt us and thee, and let us make covenant with thee, that thou wilt do us no hurt, as we have not touched thee, and as we have done unto thee nothing but tabah, and have sent thee away in peace. Thou art now Barak at Yehovah, the blessed of the Lord. Right? They would have actually said, back in those times, they would have said, Thou art Barak at Elohim Shaddai. And he made them a feast, and they did eat and drink. And they rose up betimes in the rising, and swear one to another. Isaac or Isaac sent them away, and they departed from him in peace. And it came to pass the same day that Isaac's servants came and told him concerning the well which they had digged, and said unto him, We have found water. And he called it Shabbat. Therefore, the name of the city is Beersheba to this day. Right? So, just in case somebody doesn't get that, or somebody might know about this, so Beersheba is not named after Sheba or Sheba or Sheba or Sheba Malakachi, right? It's actually named before her. All right, but verse 24, um, and Esau was 40 years old when he took to wife Judith, the daughter of Beer the Hittite, and Bashemath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite, which were a grief of mine unto Isaac and to Rebekah. We just read Genesis 26 in its entirety. May Yahweh barak those who hear and adhere to the word of the Lord. If you were standing in reverence in Yahweh's word in whatever way you were doing so, you may be seated to go back to what you were doing in the presence of Yah. Thank you for joining us. How you doing, Auntie Marion? So I'm going to attempt, I'm not sure how much time I have today, but I wanted to read this in its entirety because I'm going to kind of go through it somewhat quickly, and then we'll see how much time we have left after that, because as I was saying, we kind of had a car emergency and we got to get some stuff done. Hence why we had to move early rising Bible study session to tomorrow, and hence why you're seeing me at a dealership. Okay, so we're taking care of some stuff and making sure that we're straight. But we are going to make this through. So this is why we read through the whole thing in its entirety today, and prayerfully we'll have another 30-45 minutes at least to be able to go through it. But I'm going to take my time a little bit, but some parts you might seem like they're rushed. We do have I will be on tomorrow to make up for last week, and we do have Q&A on Thursday. So if there's something that seems like I rushed past it too fast or too quickly, or something that doesn't make sense, feel free to bring it back up. Okay. Or even I might, depending on how this goes, because we really already finished with Psalm 18 in our early rising Bible study session. So I might just use tomorrow to even go into some more in-depth stuff that we might not touch on today. So we'll see how Holy Spirit moves. I'm on. But thank you, everybody, for being on. I think I said shalom to Brother Jermaine as well. Hopefully everybody's doing well. Shalom to Darius. If I miss you on any platform, how you doing, Ricky? If I miss you, charge it to my head, not to my heart. How you doing, Russell? Congo, Black, Upfu, Minister Jenny, shalom, peace. And if I miss you, just forgive me. I'm in a different setup today. All right, but so we just finished reading Barashayat's Kaf Vav, or Genesis chapter 26 in its entirety. How you doing, Elder Select Anais? And so in reading so, and also too, by the way, I'm sorry, one last announcement real quick. Those who are waiting on the inventory, or the not inventory, on our schedule. I'm having a moment here, but our schedule for not this week, but next week for the meetup, for Memorial Day meetup, we should be able to send that to you, or make sure bare minimum Sister Renee will have it, for you guys to be able to at least be able to look at it, and look at, probably be a draft more so, but you get at least the hints of what the goal is for those 3 to 4 days, depending on how long you're going to be with us. All right. Also, those who are coming by plane too, if you can, let us know. I know there's at least 2 of you that we're planning for. I'm not sure if somebody can pick you up in this and that, but everything, especially if you're coming into like Ronald Reagan Airport, National Airport, in DC, which would probably be most of you. Maybe somebody will do BWI, but if you can, try to come into Ronald Reagan. Basically, everything's right there literally at the airport. Like, they have a really great metro system. They'll take your stuff right to the door. They might even have it, depending on where you're. Matter of fact, most hotels over there should be able to literally have shuttles and shuttle you over to wherever you're going. So if you need help with some stuff like that, let us know. And then for those who are coming to Philadelphia, Philadelphia is pretty great about the same thing. We'll get you more information about the airport for those who might be coming in. Most of you should be coming in via vehicle, or right down the street, some of you, from the location we'll be at. But we'll get that information out to all you guys. I know it's a lot going on. So anyways, back to this. So Genesis 26, how you doing, Sour Fox? Back to this, Genesis 26. We read it. There's some observations that we want to at least get out. as quickly as possible just for today because of time being a little wonky to start today. Um, so in Genesis 26, we see here Isaac, Isaac the son of Abraham, Isaac the promise. Right now, Ishmael will be reintroduced later on at the end for a specific reasoning, right, which we'll get to. But Isaac here is where we start. Isaac has already been married to Rebekah. We've already seen that he's had Jacob and Esau at this point, right? Or Jacob at Asav, or Yehadasha'al later on, at Jacob, etc. But we see these things have taken place. And how you doing, Josh? And thank y'all for the love. Appreciate you. Feel free, by the way, to thank you for any likes, shares, subscription, hit the notification tab if it's your first time with us on YouTube, whether you're joining us live or later on. Thank you for being on TikTok, YouTube. And thank you guys for adhering to the announcements and all that. But so we have this situation here where Isaac is going to the same place that Abraham has gone to. And interestingly enough, right? And so we see kind of a pickup on generational curses and also things that happen from generation to generation, that no matter how you doing, Sister Monica, if I didn't say so already, that we don't really escape too many things. And at some point you have to come back and still deal with family issues. And that's really a lot of stuff that's going on here in Genesis 26, where we see Isaac is coming back to, has been informed or is going through a famine. And so is everybody going through a famine. And just like you'll see later on, if you keep up with the same thing, you'll see later on with the 11th son of Israel, Joseph or Yasav, you'll see that his brothers come to Kemet for famine. So Kemet is very well renowned for bounty, for being able to take care of things during the famine, for making sure that they're up on things, right? Abraham has came there before, or has come to Abimelech before, right? And Abimelech is actually more so dealing with the Philistines, but you're also dealing with the same place in Kemet, stuff like that, where here is Isaac getting ready to come to the same place that his father Abraham did, right? To deal with the same type of thing, deal with the famine. How you doing, Brother Ali? To deal with the same thing his father did, which is to deal with famine, right? And Brother Ali, if you can today, can you, if you don't hear from me, can you text me or call me or something today at some point, after the live session, of course, if you're able to, so we can just, first of all, I want to talk to you and see how you're doing. Maybe even see how Mama's doing, but then also talk through some of the Philly stuff as well, if you're able to. And hold me accountable, please. Okay, thank you, bro. So you see that Isaac is going to the same place that his father did, and same thing that happened with Abraham, right? So first of all, Isaac was going to go to a certain place. Yah stops him momentarily, and we'll see why in a second. But he tells him to go somewhere different, so he's obedient. He goes to Gerar, and he stays there. And he has a similar issue with the same group of persons. Remember, Abraham went to two different spots where he did this, but the second of which was he went to where King Abimelech was, and he went to where King Abimelech was and dealt with Phicol, the captain of the Philistine army. Abimelech had more territory than just the Philistines, right? But the Philistines was a huge part of it. And so he goes there, and same thing. Isaac goes there with his wife, and the persons ask him, "Is that your wife?" And he does the same thing that Abraham does. No, that's my sister. Why does he say it? He lies once again because he's afraid that persons might try to take his life to get his wife. But by the way, let us also kind of put this in here too. Let's kind of have a quick brief sticking the pin in this to say, we see this happen a bit. So obviously this means that this was something that was going on quite a bit, where somebody wanted your wife. Seems like if somebody wants your wife, they'll kill the husband. Right? That's a norm. Yeah, that's wild, right? There's a normalcy where cats were aware that if you had a wife and your wife was considered to be all that fine, beautiful, whatever adjective you like to use, you might not be here that long, bro. So it's best for you to pretend, right? So it shows us even a little more of the dynamic going on in the time, to where as much as we would love to be able to say that marriage was something that everybody was looking into, apparently persons didn't care, and kind of shows us a mentality that exists today where, hey, bro, if you can't keep your girl, if you can't keep your wife, whatever, that's on you. Or persons who are out here all the time. You see it happen with Drake. You see it happen with all these rappers who go in rap battles. You see it happen with Shaquille O'Neal now and other persons where if you mess with me, I'm going to take your wife from you or try, which is craziness. I'm not saying it's something that sisters just give into. I'm saying it's a way of the world. It's just something that's been a problem, an attack on marriage, somebody's lust being more important than righteousness. A whole lot of coveting, Sister Michelle, for sure, right? And so, in all these things that are going on, we see that this is somewhat the norm, not just only in one generation, but this is something that's generational, not just generational with Abraham and Isaac, but this means it's generational with the Philistines, it's generational with Abimelech, it's generational with Kemet. So Yah stops Isaac prematurely before he even deals with those things. He was going to Abimelech, same place that his father went, same person. And Yahweh told him, don't go down to Kemet. Don't go over there. Don't go where these Philistines and these Kemetic persons are, and where they be doing this stuff and trying to take things that don't belong to them. Right? He said, don't go down there where they covet. And if we and here's the observation too. When you look at the whole chapter, this chapter holistically in a holy fashion, you discover, definitely don't go down there right now because they're jealous. It says, as soon as Abraham, Isaac's father, as soon as Abraham had passed away, every well that Abraham had dug for Yahweh had named even after Yahweh in some fashion, had named after Elohim in some fashion, and had done so in a victorious route. To remember, Abraham was huge because we think of just Abraham, we think of him only in our context today. Abraham, he had one son. How you doing, Sister Sirlane? How you doing, Mike? We think of it as Abraham just had one son and this and that. But don't forget, Abraham had generations under him who had left their homes and families to serve under him because he had a blessing attached to him. How you doing, MIT Raj? You see that? It's a different context. Remember, he had become so big that Lot and his servants were squabbling. That's why Lot eventually leaves and goes towards the wrong thing, but he leaves, right? And then remember, later on, he's so big and so vast that his army, his people become an army, mobilized, take back not just Lot. In order to save Lot, they had to go against the 5 wicked kingdoms that Yah will eventually get rid of, and then they even have to basically free up all of Canaan. Right? He's gotten blessed by Melchizedek by giving him a blessing. Right? He's even dealt with Sodom and put Sodom in his place. So Abraham is huge. When you say Abraham, when you say Sarah, you have to think huge. You have to think this is a nation walking around. This is why we keep saying in our Bible, this is why we got to go back to Barashayat in the beginning. We have to make it a point to show that we are a nation walking around. This is not just Abraham by himself. Don't get caught with the smooth. Don't let the smooth taste fool you. That's what it is, right? Don't let the smooth taste fool you, right? If you fall, don't drink the Kool-Aid and get the wrong thing and die off to the meaning of this, right? Like this is a huge envoy, right? Think Mansa Musa, like where the ground shakes when he shows up, when the camp moves. So Abraham has passed, but remember, Abraham gave all of the inheritance to who? To Isaac. Ishmael has gone down with Hagar. They've gone down to Kemet. He's married a Kemetic woman. Abraham had 6 sons. After that, after Sarah passes away, he gets married again, has 6 sons. But all of the inheritance, all of the promise goes to who? To Isaac. So Isaac, when it says Isaac is walking, this is a nation walking. I've said this before, who knows how many persons will join us, for the for this Memorial Day meetup. But can you imagine at some point, one day, that all of that, could you imagine we come to the National Mall and we 200, 400, 1,000, 10,000 strong at some point, right? To where when we come through, everything in there has to bend to your nation, to the will of the Father who sends you. If that's where he would send us, right? He could send us anywhere, but I'm just saying, like, that's where we're going to meet up. Imagine that being the thought process, that we mobilize as a nation. See, so when you hear Isaac moved, it's not as simple as that. A nation moved, right? And Yah stops where the nation is headed to Kemet and says, hold up, time out. Before you head over there, I need you to go over to Gadar. And when you read it, it's because you also see there's a thing of jealousy, right? You see there's a thing of jealousy where persons have literally every well water, and also that's considered to be wealth. As much as we think of money only, no, having a spot to get water, natural resources, etc. Those are things that are valuable. Those are things you can't really put a price tag on. They try to, but the reality is, if you get access to water, you're doing something. Your major cities and everything usually going to be around what? Water, right? Usually. There's some that have been able to make it through, but they still have to have a well of some kind of whatever, right? You have to have access to resources. And so when they closed up the well, they closed up the resources. In other words, when Isaac's father, right, passed away, the best thing they thought they could do to come against Isaac and come against Abraham, come against that nation is what? Is to block natural resources. If we block the natural resources, if we keep that from them, then no matter how vast they might be becoming, no matter how blessed they might be, and what do they do with us today? I know it's not Noah's day, but it's not too far removed. And just as in the days of Noah, what are we seeing today? If we can block you from natural resources, if we can get you to focus on the trinkets rather than what the trinkets come from, if we can get you to focus on the gold necklace and not owning the gold, right? If we can get you to focus on the pearl and not focus on owning the clam or the oyster, right? If we can get you to focus on, um, you know, on on wearing fashion and not fashioning yourselves, right? And so they recognize, and this is the same thing, right? Demonic principles are still demonic principles, just like kingdom principles are kingdom principles. Demonic principles are still demonic principles, right? Same thing, right? Yeah. So we're still dealing with the same thing where you have persons who don't recognize that the ownership of the natural resource. One thing I'm so proud, and I pray he's doing the right way. It seems like he is. He's an NOI brother, but he's somebody who does a lot for the community. Riza Islam. If you've ever paid attention to him, he was big on anti-vax and a lot of stuff like that, and gives a lot of great information. Can explain a lot of different things. Teaches a lot of persons around the world. Also, one of the things that one of the things I was proud of him doing was recently now his company has taken a lot of has grown quite a bit, where they do the pills. I forget what it's called, mind something or memory something, but something that he's been doing, and literally he shows the process of it, and you can go check it out for yourself, where literally you can walk down a creek and all of the things that all of the herbs that are being used are coming from the same creek, and all you do is they're all planted by the rivers of water, right? That literally they show the process of, they just take all the stuff there, they take it to a tent that's right there outside. Everybody literally blends the items and stuff. They put it together, put it in the capsule right there, and they give it to you. And it was like proud for me, because it was a proud moment for me, for our people as a whole, because I was able to go, you know what? That's what it's about. Like the natural resource, like gaining stuff, having something that's there. He made sure he went through the correct channels. United States of America can't come against it. Like it's something that's there, and it's something that we could easily support the same way that we support, where we get our magnesium from, or prayerfully the way that we support Bloom and Flourish, Assistatius stuff, or the sea moss. With Twin, etc. Like all these different things are there for us, and to get the hold of the natural resource, so that once you have the water, once you have the land, once you have the herbs, what stops you? You see, and so you see here in this issue that's going on, is that they have stopped up the natural resources. They have stopped up wherever he goes back to. All these places are supposed to be a well, and they know these are named. Now, don't forget this part. They are named or authorized, right, after Elohim, right? So these are authorized after Yahada, or Jireh, Jehovah Jireh, Yahweh Yahada, right? They're authorized after him, and they're supposed to be resources that are authorized by him for our people. So what do? You feel like Yah is blessing them no matter what, you have them stopped up. And an interesting thing about this is Abimelech will later come over with his captain, same Abimelech and same captain from before. They have a third person this time with them, but same ones from before that dealt with Abraham will come now to the son. And the same thing, say that, hey, we didn't know any better. We didn't want no beef, right? The first time seems like maybe they didn't know any better, but the second time we got to start thinking to ourselves, even if you didn't do it, did you allow your cronies to do it? Right? Did you allow some persons around you? These persons understood, because Abimelech comes to him and says the same thing he says to Abraham. Hey, you're blessed. Right? He says, hey, we see Yah's all upon you. We see that nobody's above. Right? And they say, we don't want any problems. And they, once again, the same people give a second generation a blessing. Now, quick question. Why is it that we should look at Abraham at Yisaac? Or why is it we should look at Abraham to Isaac? Why is it? Because Yah tells Isaac, even when he tells him not to go down there at first and take his time because of some stuff going on. He doesn't know why, just Yah tells him. But Yah tells Isaac, I'm blessing you because of your father. Now, I know it's right after the Mother's Day message, and I'm not trying to say, and by the way, remember, when I say Abraham, we got to put Sarah in there, right? But I'm mentioning Abraham because we're talking about seed. We're talking about bloodline. We're talking about faithfulness, and the faithfulness of a bloodline can bless the next generation. You catch that? So we have to be honest about that in our reading and stuff like that, and what we're acquiring from this, right? Whatever it is that we're going to get, whatever synopsis we're going to come up with, whatever the census is, if you will, let us be honest about the fact that once again we're dealing with nation. Remember, this lie that says that this is written for everybody is written for familial. This is familial terminology. This is familial law. This is familial ways. This is familial truth, right? He says to Isaac, hey, Isaac, the only reason why I won't let you down, I mean, in essence, I know this is not quoting word for word. Read your Bible, it'll bless you. Read Genesis 26. We already read it as a whole. What he's basically saying is, because your daddy did what he was supposed to do, right? I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do for you. I'm going to cover you. You about to do the same sin your daddy did. And I'm still going to make sure you're blessed. Whoever blesses you must be blessed. So everybody's going to be running to bless you. Those who are trying to curse you, they're going to get cursed. Those who are trying to block your well and trying to block the water of your fathers, right? But you got to make sure, this is why you got to get in tune with who? Your fathers in righteousness, even, right? This is extremely important, right? We do this weird dance and this weird whatever. Oh yeah, this and that. No. Like, this is a family. Yah's looking at the family ties. He's looking at family bloodline. As much as we want to act like he's not, it's right there. It's right there in front of us. It's not something to be sneezed at. Hey, how you doing, babe? My wife is on the Honorable Almas. Always check her out on TikTok, YouTube, website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. Love you, babe. Thanks for being on. Right? So this is something we have to be honest about in our dialogue, is that once again, everybody will tell you this is for everybody. It's like when everybody comes to you and says, oh yeah, everybody come to my, I've done it a couple times. I fell for the okie doke. I drank the Kool-Aid. They'll say, come to our big event. Everybody that comes to our event, anybody who comes, your life will be changed. Anybody who comes, we could have 100%. If you'll just do everything we say, everybody will get rich. That's not how it works. Even when they set it up, they have persons that are coming to talk and get money and stuff like that, but they have to be in alignment with what the person's saying above it. And even out of that, they have the persons who are training you are persons who are part of a pyramid thing. And I'm not even saying pyramid schemes are always bad. I'm just saying there's a chain of command, there's structure, there's order. And so even though they're telling you to lie that this is for everybody, it's not for everybody, right? Including what you see in the word. It's not for everybody. Just look in Matthew. Yeah, you Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and Acts, and Romans, et cetera, et cetera. But this is not for everybody. As much as everybody wants, Matthew chapter 1 tells you that the Messiah couldn't come. There's persons who teach. You've heard this teaching before, more than likely. Oh yeah, you've heard the song. It doesn't matter what color you are, as long as your blood was red. That sounds nice, and I'm not trying to say color necessarily, but it definitely mattered what nation he was from. Matthew chapter 1 tells you that. Luke chapter 3. So it does matter. It matters what nation you are. Revelation chapter 7, it seems to matter what nation you are. Revelation chapter 12, it seems to matter what the Ode of Moses in Revelation seems to matter. right? We go Revelation 21 and 22 even. It seems to matter. So I'm saying all those things to make it plain and just to tell persons, as much as, we're told a lot of lies, including about canon, but we're told a lot of lies and stuff about, everybody, everything is for everybody, or even the word of Yah is for everybody, or the way that, this is set up is for everybody. It's not. How you doing, cultural prospect? It's just not. Thank you for the love. It's just not. We can sit up here and try our best to make it, but it's not. Matter of fact, even if you look at the United States of America, the corporation, United States of America's member 28 USC 300215 subsection A, United States is a corporation, right? So even if you look up the rules, the regulations, the Constitution, a lot of persons read this stuff wrong, right? Like if you're in a corporation, that's why you have a president. I don't care when they lie to you and tell you, well, George Washington, at first he wanted to be the king, and then he called himself, and then maybe no, he's the president because he's over a corporation, right? That's the way that works. That's the way that works. He's over a corporation, and so there's certain things you're not going to get if you're not in certain places in the corporation. If you're not even considered to be a people or a part of that nation or part of that corporation, then there's certain rules and rights that don't apply to you. That's why we, the people of the United States, is one of the most key words, because who were considered to be people when they wrote the Constitution? Think about it. I know we discussed it plenty of times before, but let's just go down this train of thought again. Who were considered to be people? People means nation. So how do we know who was considered to be in the nation? They said, even though it was a jacked up vote and a fake vote, but they said you got to be allowed to vote. Okay, question: who was allowed to vote at the first time that they had a so-called vote for the United States Corporation, when it was George Washington? They got 100% vote, which is crazy work. Somebody got 100% vote. If that happened with any other nation, we'd be sitting up here throwing a tissy or telling you how that was falsified and telling you how we shouldn't roll with that. He got 100% vote, but who was allowed to vote? If we be honest, we don't want to be honest. And by the way, before somebody, you might be hearing me say this for the first time, if you're frustrated at me or whatever and telling me I don't deserve blah blah, I'm a veteran. I fought for righteousness, and I said that I would support and defend the Constitution, not the people, but the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. So you might not know your enemy, but I'm more in line with the fight than some of you, and I'm not even an American citizen anymore. I'm done away with it, right? Right. But that being said, because a lot of you don't know, so you hear we the people of the United States, and you don't even know the United States is a corporation, and you don't know who the people are. Right, like I'm at a dealership now, right? I'm at a dealership now. The dealership is, I'm sorry, on YouTube you can see the dealership is Lexus, right? So the dealership Lexus is a corporation, right? I don't work for the corporation, so even though I might get my vehicle taken care of at Lexus, I don't belong to the corporation of Lexus. Therefore, right? But if let's say I were to buy some stock in Lexus, then how do you think that goes? Even though I don't work for Lexus, I still have stock in it, right? So you either have to have stock in it or you have to be under it. And if you buy stock in it, by the way, you're kind of sort of under it anyways, but you have more of a say. It's interesting. I could buy like one piece of stock and have more say so as far as what Lexus should do than somebody that's worked here 40 years and has zero stock. So we don't comprehend how this stuff works, but we're talking about nation, right? So we the people means nation. If somebody doesn't, we're talking about lawful legal terminology. People means nation. If you don't know that, now you know. People means nation. So we the people is not saying we the person or we the persons. Persons is plural of person. People is not plural for person. And any dictionary that's telling you that is a dictionary that you can't use in a court of law. Can I say that again? I'm gonna help you out. That's why there are law dictionaries, legal dictionaries, and there are dictionaries. Right? You guys know this, right? Thank you for the love. You guys know this, right? There are law dictionaries, there are legal dictionaries, and then there are dictionaries. Why is that? Because just because you were taught to define something by Oxford doesn't mean that when you go to a court of law, Oxford supersedes the lawful definition. So you can have all the book smarts in the world and still step in and not know how to define what your situation is, or you can step into a court of law and not even know how you are defined. How you doing, Sister Deja and Brother Destin? And I'm sorry, little sister, please forgive me, and little sister too, having a moment. You hear what I'm saying, beloveds? You, if you're not careful, you're walking around. It's like a lot of persons who say they have a Bible. There's a lawful Bible, there's a Christian Bible, and then there's a Bible. Right? A lot of persons who aren't even Christian will tell you all about the Bible, but that definition doesn't make sense usually at all. There's a lot of Christians who will tell you about the Bible, but they don't know how to define things because they don't believe in law, because the Bible is a lawful decree, right? The Bible is law and case study given to a particular community who is family that holds a certain belief system, period. And so a lot of you were talking about, well, this is why you hear a lot of persons, see, this is the Bible, not Christian Bible, not lawful Bible, the Bible. This is where you hear persons say stuff like, well, you know what? I don't see it that way. No, guess what? This is law. Nobody asked how you see it. I'm trying to help somebody. We're going to get back to Genesis 26, but I'm trying to help you to catch the context, right? This is where you get persons who say, well, when it comes to the Trinity, how I see, that's nice and everything, but that's not law. Law might give rights, but it doesn't give you the right to misinterpret. There's only one interpretation. Shalom, Sister Taylor. There's only one interpretation of law. You know, you hear persons, well, I believe, no. It's not about what you hear what I'm saying? It's not even about what you believe. We're talking about law. That's why there's a law dictionary, a legal dictionary, right? Because not everything that's lawful is legal, not everything legal is lawful. There's a law dictionary, there's a legal dictionary, and then there's a dictionary. And a lot of persons who think that they're versed, you know what? There's a fourth class. There's a fourth set that's really not even a dictionary. It's just people think on their own. A lot of persons won't even crack open a dictionary, or at least a thesaurus or something, so that they might be able to see how something's defined. But if you want to know how you are lawfully defined, because legally you can be treated different than what you are lawfully allowed. But a lot of you are under legality and not law. I'm not telling you something that's out of context. This is why this saying is, and it's not even the saying, it's the truth. There are two constitutions. A lot of persons don't even know. For example, right? Some of you know the answer to this, but so be it. I'm just going to ask it just to make sure all of us are on the same page. That's right. There is no private interpretation of law. There can be private law, but it's still interpreted as law. It's just privately, and the only time the public has to come into the private is if the private is if somebody's not being protected under law. That's basically common law, somewhat in a nutshell. But let me. What was it I was getting ready to say? I'm sorry. So law and legal. I was about to ask you guys a question. I said I'm going to ask you guys a question, see where we're at. I'm sorry. I just lost my train of thought for a second. Hold on. How you doing, Set Apart? Law. How you doing, Bright Boy? Law. Two constitutions. Thank you. Thank you, Sister Monique, and Shalom, peace. So there are two constitutions. Two constitutions, right? So let me ask you a question. When do you think do you even know? Or I'm going to ask it like this. When did the definition of a citizen change in your constitution? If you're a United States citizen, or even if you're a sovereign who's using the Constitution, you should also learn other constitutions as well. But if you're using the Constitution of the United States of America to cover you, then question, when did the definition of citizen change? Or I'll even give you a better place. What amendment to the Constitution changed what a citizen is? What constitution or what amendment in the Constitution of the United States of America changed what a citizen is? What number? And they did something that's so clever, it's so crafty, it's so shady. Almost the 13th. You're almost there. Right next to it. A 14th. How you doing, Lynette? 14th Amendment. 14th Amendment changed. Now, what happened in the 4th? Because you were taught the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. You're supposed to skip through the tulips, right? 13th Amendment, you were taught free the slaves. 14th Amendment, you were taught allowed black folk to vote. Hold on, am I out of order? No. 13th Amendment, you say free the slave. 14th Amendment, you said allowed for black folk to be citizens, right? 14th Amendment allowed for black folk to be citizens. And in the 15th Amendment, you say it's for us to be able to vote. First of all, those are lies, because the 13th Amendment, I'm going to go 13th, 15th first. The 13th Amendment did not free the slaves. The 13th Amendment said you could no longer be a slave just because you were black, which is why now you have the plantations get bigger and start being referred to as, and start partnering with other plantations that we now call prisons, where if you go to these places, you were allowed to be treated as a slave. So that's what the 13th Amendment said, is we can't technically say just because you're black, because, you know, black folk, Buffalo Soldiers, black folk, Seminole Wars, black folk, Gullah Geechee Wars, etc., black folk, Juneteenth, we fought for ourselves and freed ourselves and thought we were partnering in. The lie was we were going in the partnership with the country where they were going to actually treat us with dignity and respect. So 13th Amendment, you can't say, right, because Lincoln, remember, Lincoln never wanted to free the slaves. He said he wanted to make sure that the Union remained a union. He wanted to keep the Union. He wanted to keep it unionized. They don't like other unions, but they want their union, right? So that's what he did. It's okay, we're going to keep the Union together. And he even is quoted as saying, if I could keep the Union together by freeing the slaves, I would. If I could keep the Union together by not freeing a single slave, I would. He said, if I could free some slaves and keep some slaves, as long as the Union stays together, I would. It was never his intent to do that. And the 13th Amendment doesn't even say that. Right? So let's get that together. The 15th Amendment, which does this whole thing that black people were allowed to vote, is a lie. Because first of all, not only were black persons voting, and we did get a lot of persons in office in the late 1800s, way after Lincoln's thing, by the way, but let's just say it's because of it. They took all that away and they started offing us and they started killing us and taking us out of office. That also being said, too, there were more, right? That being said, though, they never said black people could vote. They said that some black men could vote. They allowed some black men to vote. And that's one of the worst things that we ever did as a people, to where we left our sisters to the side and we're like, hey, well, we can vote. We did the same thing that they did to their women. We can vote, F y'all. Y'all ain't supposed to be weird. We're going to be like white men, because we got this thing where we want to be like our oppressor. And I'm not trying to talk about so-called white people as a whole, because if you know, technically, according to law, and really according to science, there is no such thing as a white person, right? So that's something that we come up with and do on our own, and have been taught and fallen for the nonsense, right? But that being said, so-called white people and really our oppressors, we wanted to be so much like them that we were like, well, F our women too. I get to vote. Wow. Like, voting gives you more money, but I get to vote. Like, money got you your land back that they were snatching from you, and the so-called 40 acres of the mule. Oh, I get to vote. Like, it got you a chance to be able to bring your culture and live by your truth and live by your standards and all. Right? But that's what we did. That's what the 15th Amendment was about. So you've been told a lie. The 15th Amendment did not allow black people to vote. It allowed some black men to vote. And we did the same thing that white men did to their women, and we left them to the side. Right? The 13th Amendment did not free the slaves. The 13th Amendment said we are allowed to treat you like slaves still. We just have to make sure that we put some paperwork together for you. The 14th Amendment, the one in between, is where a citizen changed. And it's important that we catch the change, because first things first, the 14th Amendment is supposedly when we became part of the nation. But did you know, and really not even into the 1940s, that a birth certificate didn't really exist? In other words, did you know that your straw man didn't exist? In other words, do you get that the whole thing of you, so let me put it like this. A lot of you think that the 14th Amendment said that as long as you're born in the United States of America, you belong to America, but that's slavery. That's taking ownership over somebody. And that was never a law, right? Because it didn't make sense that because you were born in Argentina, but you were Norwegian, that we would consider you to be Argentinian. No, you're Norwegian. That's who your parents are. Matter of fact, if you look at your birth certificate, your DS-11 form for your when you travel, I'm trying to say your Passover. That don't even make sense. your I don't know. I'm seeing it. The DS. I see even the form, the DS11 form. Thank you, babe. Your passport. I'm trying to say Passover. I'm like, that's not what am I doing? Your passport that you use to travel. Your passport form that you would fill out. When you fill it out on the back, you can say whether or not your parents are citizens of the United States Corporation. You don't have to answer yes. You just do so because you think that's what you've been trained to do. But here, let me give you some math. If birth certificates weren't even really a thing, and they definitely weren't supposed to define like what you were as far as what country you were part of, really into the 1940s, then if you let's say this, if I got any brothers and sisters listen to me that were born in the 1960s, 1950s, 1940s, let's say the 50s, because I know we have some of them for sure, right? Listening right now. I know we have older too, but let's just say 1950s, right? That means that your mother and father and your grandmother and grandfather were probably not considered to be United States citizens. And even if they had a birth certificate, they were not necessarily considered, because the birth certificate doesn't come from the federal government. The birth certificate comes through the state. And not every state even cared about your being a state citizen, at least not at that point. They started, matter of fact, polling these things more so when you start getting to the 1850s to the 1860s. That's when you start actually polling those things and going into those things. So that means that many of you who are listening to me right now, that means your mom and your daddy and your grandpapa and your grandmama, right? Or whatever you call Nana and Papa, right? They, their grandmother and grandfather were more than likely not even considered to be United States citizens, which means that there are some of us, now we know that some of our, even from that generation, some of your parents are still alive, which means that for some of you, you maybe or maybe you're not a United States citizen on paper, but that means your grandparents, aren't, and you fell for the okie doke. Some of you don't know your grandmother, your grandfather, your great grandparents are not even considered to be United States citizens, but you believe that everybody's a United States citizen. I want you to think about that, right? They change it up. Oh, okay. Yes, okay. So we only got a few more minutes. They said everything's finished here. So I just want to get that across. We're gonna have to come back do part 2 tomorrow. We'll do a special live session to make up for last week. But and I'll make sure I put an announcement out. But I want you guys, we're gonna kind of leave on that, and I'm gonna sew it up with the scripture. But I want you to catch that. So what did I mean by they changed what a citizen was with the 14th Amendment? The 14th Amendment, if you even read their amendments, they do something crafty in there. But once again, we don't comprehend how law works until um, uh, um, every amendment that mentions the word citizen until the 14th Amendment mentions it with an uppercase C, meaning that it's talking about citizens of a certain ilk. But then they make you lowercase c citizens from the 14th Amendment on, right? Many of us don't even catch that. Many of us don't care to catch. Many of us don't think that that matters enough to catch, right? But we became lowercase c citizens for the 14th Amendment on. What does that mean? That means that basically the rights of citizenship that we're supposed to go to many, not necessarily us, right? But we're supposed to go to many. They got rid of them at the 14th Amendment and said that now any of y'all can be slaves to the corporation. So a lot of you who think that you are citizens don't even realize there's a difference between a sovereign and a citizen. You could be a sovereign, right? And even if you weren't, a citizen was taken care of, especially before the gold standard was taken away and all that. But come the 14th Amendment on, they lowercased it, meaning that if you are considering yourself to be a citizen, you don't even know that you don't have rights, not what you think you do. So we come to the scripture that we were at as we take our close for the day. I apologize. Like I said, today I had to take care of some stuff for the vehicle. They're saying that the stuff is finished. So I wanted to make sure we were on, and we did get at least an hour in, praise yeah, right? But so we'll come back to this tomorrow in the rising, but I just want persons to be aware. We don't know how the law works. Remember, once again, there are lawful dictionaries, there are legal dictionaries, and there are dictionaries, right? And a lot of your diction, right, and your speech concerning law, it's not lawful. So you're talking about you're a citizen, but you don't know what a difference between a lowercase c citizen and an uppercase c citizen is. You're saying that taxes but you don't even know who taxes are for and who's even allowed to pay taxes. Some of you aren't allowed to pay taxes. Did you know that? That would shock you if some of you knew you were technically not allowed. You put it this way: you're not allowed to be forced to. You're allowed to be asked. And some of you don't know. I didn't say all of you, but you have to know what kind of citizen you are. Right? What does your state even demand of you? Right? Because by definition, lawful definition, every state is a country. Every country is a state. So when you go to Georgia, right? I'm in Georgia now. The country of Georgia is different than when I was in California. The country of California. The country of California is different than when I'm in Sedona, Arizona. The country of Arizona. The country of Arizona deals with stuff different than when I'm in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia. The country of Philadelphia, that's what it means, state. And by the way, even Philadelphia is not even a country like you think it is. Philadelphia is a country that's considered to be a commonwealth. I'm sorry. Pennsylvania is a country considered to be a commonwealth. Virginia is considered to be a commonwealth, so they're supposed to be kingdoms, and the wealth's supposed to be common. So whenever the wealth is not even common, you're supposed to be able to argue that with somebody and say things are not going correctly. You don't know how to argue it. I wouldn't say argue it right now for many of us, because many of us wouldn't even know where to start. If you're a Floridian, do you know that you deal with a lot of Spanish law? Have you ever studied the laws of Spain? Have you ever studied the laws of the Seminoles? Those laws are more important than some of the laws that you're just letting people do. Even with whatever his name is, Rick something or whatever his name is as the governor, even with him in office, that didn't change. But we don't know these things. Like, a lot of persons are like, I don't like the fact that my children are being taught stuff outside of creationism. I don't want to be taught evolution. By law, all you got to do is get with other persons who are of your ilk, who are of your standard. You guys write a petition. They don't need but so many votes. And now the school that your children go to, because public means government. So even though you're private, if you send your children to a public school, they still have to respect your privacy, even in the public school. Right. And the one thing that the enemy does here, as we get ready to take our leave, because I got to go, but Genesis 26, the one thing the enemy does is he stops up your access to natural resources and to information and to the water that you should be drawing from the well, just like he tried to do with Isaac, or we tried to do with Abraham, right? Abraham passed away, and they said all the resources, stop it, dry it up, have them separated from where they come from. What I wonder what would happen if you stop looking at yourself as a citizen of the United States or of England or of who else is listed on here, Australia, Jamaica, etc., right? And you said that you are a sovereign in the kingdom. By law, they have to allow it. You just got to learn how to do it. So we'll discuss that more tomorrow. We will do a makeup for tomorrow, not just only because today I got some stuff that I had to take care of last minute, but also because of last week dealing with some stuff. Thank you for praying for me again last week and all that great stuff. We appreciate you. We will prayerfully see you this evening for the live session, and then I'll see you tomorrow. And those who are looking for information to come through text train, etc., you should be seeing that stuff come through. And if you are making the trip, once again, nobody really been holding me accountable. If you haven't been getting information, if you haven't been getting stuff saying, hey, we're going to do this, make sure that you contacting and saying, hey, Pastor Kofi, I'm not in any strain. I'm not seeing any information. We want to make sure everybody's on the same page. All right. Love you all to life. You all take care. Continue to do great things. We give our honor and praise to the Most High. We give our praise and honor to him for my wife, the Honorable Alma, who lives a life that's able to be honored. And remember, as always, family, that you are loved. You're necessary. You're majestic. You're fearfully and wonderfully made. And you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Shalom. Love y'all. Take care. Peace.